You have been a light in my life for many, many years. Greetings, VC, and everyone else out there. I'm TC Kirkham, and this is the show where I talk about the artists and other aspects that have been a big influence on my musical journey throughout life. The people who have made me who I am today. Welcome to Influencers, part of the Kirkham Report series. I hadn't planned to do this person this week. I had actually planned to do somebody else, but as of press time when I'm recording this on Tuesday morning, we lost her yesterday, and I thought this would be a good time to look at her stuff since she was on the list to do later on this year. And she was just an amazing artist, Olivia Newton-John. Olivia Newton-John has been a part of my life since I was in grade school, and I began listening to her. My mother was a huge fan of hers also, and that helped influence me. Because I knew if my mom liked it, it must be good. She rarely liked stuff I didn't like. And there were a few exceptions, of course, but Olivia was not one of them. Over the years, I've amassed several of Olivia's albums. I mostly have singles, and some of the stuff we are going to use Magic Box for because I either can't get to the album or I only have the CD. Or digital. So let's start with the albums. I picked most of them up later on. Some of them I've even just picked up in the last couple of years, having found really decent copies of them online during my travels through sales in the vinyl community. But I've had singles from them for years. She was one of my favorite artists and remains so. I love her voice and I love her style. And she was just an incredible performer. She's going to be greatly missed for sure. Her daughter, Chloe Latanzi, is out there with her own musical career. In fact, she and her mother had a #1 hit on the dance chart in 2016 with a reworked version of Magic, which we'll talk about in a little bit, with another DJ producer, Dave Ald, I think his name was. I'd never heard of it until this morning, and I was like, wow, this is interesting. Not sure I like it, not my taste, but I can see where people would get a kick out of it. In any case, let's go back through the albums. This was the first album released that I picked up. She had one earlier than that, but I got this when I was in high school. This is Let Me Be There. This was, of course, Let Me Be There was her breakthrough single in America, although she had hit with Bob Dylan's If Not For You a couple years earlier. Let Me Be There was what turned her into a big star. And the album has some great stuff on it. Now, back in the day, she was mostly a covers artist. There would be 2 or 3 original songs on each album, but most of them were songs that you would have heard other artists do. Like this album features, this album does feature If Not For You as part of the repackaged collection. Also has Let Me Be There, Me and Bobby McGee, Banks of the Ohio, Love Song, Take Me Home Country Roads, Angel of the Morning, If I Could Read Your Mind, Help Me Make It Through the Night, and Just a Little Too Much. If you didn't know better, you would never know it was an MCA album. There's the official label. Because it definitely has that feeling of a Pickwick style album where they've re-released stuff from earlier stuff. But that's just the way things were in the early 70s. You saw that in a lot of artists. It wasn't just Olivia. It was a lot of the male and female singers did that. Banks of the Ohio was also released as a single off this, as well as If Not For You. I've always particularly liked her cover of Take Me Home Country Roads and Angel of the Morning. And the rest of the album is perfectly listenable too, and it did make me a solid fan of hers, thanks to Let Me Be There, which was one of my favorite songs. Next up came an album that in the UK was released as Long Live Love. She represented the UK in the 1974 Eurovision Song Contest with that song, and she had put all of the different songs that she had to choose from on that album. They were deleted from the American release and filled in with earlier stuff that she had done from other records, and came out with If You Love Me, Let Me Know. That was also a top 10 hit for her. She was also hitting the country chart at this time. If You Love Me, Let Me Know features the title track, Mary Skeffington, Country Girl, I Honestly Love You, which would become first of her 5 number 1 hits. Free the People, The River's Too Wide, Home Ain't Home Anymore, God Only Knows, Changes, which is a song she wrote, and You Ain't Got the Right. There's more original stuff on this than there was on the first one, and that was because they didn't include any of the Eurovision songs. Even Long Live Love isn't included on the American edition. It's a great, fun album, and has a lot of great vocals on it, and of course, it has I Honestly Love You, which was one of my mother's all-time favorite songs. Again, MCA Records. I Honestly Love You is one of the great soft rock ballads of all time. She would chart again with it in 1998 from an album, her first album in several years. Um, Nothing can hold a candle to that song, and it's a great song. It really is, and so is If You Let Me, Let Me Know. But this is a great album too, and again, this was at the time she was getting flack from the country music community for being from Australia / England and hitting the country chart and winning country music awards, and the country music people didn't like that too well. They would accept it later, but they were upset when she won Academy of Country Music Awards for female artists and stuff, and it got messy, but they all mended fences eventually. The next album is one of my favorites, and it's because I love the song, the title track, and I always will. It would be her second number 1 hit, and she was really clicking at that time. 1975's Have You Never Been Mellow. People complain about the song being kind of wimpy and wussy, but I think it's really a great little love song. This also features her hit single Please Mr. Please, which hit the top 5, along with Loving Arms, Livestream, Goodbye Again, Water Under the Bridge, I Never Did Sing You a Love Song, It's So Easy, The Air That I Breathe, Follow Me, and In the Morning, the full title of the song. And like I said, Please Mr. Please. Those were the 2 singles, Have You Never Been Mellow and Please Mr. Please. I love her version of John Denver's Goodbye Again. She was a longtime friend and collaborator of John, and one of the best things that they ever did together was John's hit single Fly Away, where she does the backup vocals. She's barely credited, but they did do it on one of his specials together, so you definitely know it's her. Love that song. Another song on this album, I Never Did Sing You a Love Song, would later become a hit for Bonnie Tyler. Although it wasn't a big hit in America, it did do better overseas, and it was on her It's a Heartache album in 1978. Fantastic album though, and I love the title track. You can call it a wimpy song for all you want. This is Olivia at her best when it comes to the soft pop stuff. The next album I missed, and I came in with the 1976 album that came out after it. So I'm the album that has Something Better to Do. I missed that one. The next one I got recently. I picked this up over the last couple of years. Come On Over from 76. Excuse me. This features Come On Over as the main single from the album. Also, her cover of Jolene, which was fantastic. Didn't chart. It was released as a single. Pony Ride, It'll Be Me, Green Sleeves, Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain, which was a big hit for Willie Nelson at the time. Don't Throw It All Away. Who Are You Now? Smile for Me. Small Talk and Pride. Wrap Me in Your Arms, and The Long and Winding Road. I like her cover of Green Sleeves, too. This album is kind of this is very adult contemporary. It's not a surprise that she started to slip on the pop charts with this, because with the previous album too, because they were really toning down the style, pushing more of the country style out, and going more AC, because the AC chart, she would have number one hit after number one hit during the mid 70s. And I love her cover of Jolene. I think it's the best song on this album. I was never that fond of Come On Over as a single. It's not a bad song, and the album is certainly not bad either. I'd not heard the whole thing until last year, and but it's definitely even more mellow than Have You Ever Been Mellow. She tried to pick it up a little bit in 1977 with Don't Stop Believin'. That, of course, became a hit, and of course it's not the same song as the Journey song that came out later. Don't Stop Believin' also features her top 20 hit Sam, which I love, and I featured on Obscuria a couple months ago, along with 1,000 Conversations, Compassionate Man, Newborn Babe, Hey Mr. Dreammaker, Every Face Tells a Story, Love You, Hold the Key, I'll Bet You a Kangaroo, and The Last Time You Loved. This is mostly original. There's less covers and more original numbers on it, and that helped contribute to her getting a little bit more airplay with Sam and Don't Stop Believing on pop stations than she had the last couple of years. I think those songs are both great singles, and the album itself is less mellow than Come On Over was. Now, of course, in between this album and the next album there was another album between it. She did Grease, and we'll talk about that in a minute. After Grease, she decided to cut loose, coming out with what I think is her second best album by far, 1979's Totally Hot, actually released in late 1978, featuring 3 hits in A Little More Love, Deeper Than the Night, and the title track, which failed to hit the top 40 for some reason. It's one of the best songs on the album. Totally Hot was a complete departure from what Olivia had been doing. It was more along the lines of You're the One That I Want, in terms of its feel, in terms of the way it worked, everything that she did on this album. There was still a couple ballads on here, but you know, the singles really reflected that bigger trend toward going toward more up-tempo stuff. Please Don't Keep Me Waiting, Dancing Round and Round, Talk to Me, Deeper Than the Night, Borrowed Time, and A Little More Love, Never Enough, Totally Hot, Boats Against the Current, and Give Me Some Loving. Her cover of Eric Carmen's Boats Against the Current is utterly stunning, and if you've never heard it, you should pick up this album. One of Olivia's best by far, and always will be. I have a very soft spot for that album. This is another one I had only on digital until last year. I have this I picked up. I believe I picked it up from Adam at Record Crate. Now, where's Physical? I don't have the album. I never bought the album. I have all the singles from Physical, but I never bought the album. Now, it has been reissued recently in a new deluxe set, both on CD and vinyl, which I didn't know until I was researching stuff for today. So I'm definitely going to order that. The CD has tracks from later albums on it too. But Physical was, you know, her top album of all time. I mean, she only got up to number 6 on the album chart with it, which doesn't make any sense when you consider that the title track spent 10 weeks at number 1. It was her best reviewed album. The critics loved it. It was her best selling album. And I don't have it. I didn't have a lot of money back then. But, you know, I do have the singles, obviously, which were Physical, Make a Move on Me, and Landslide. Landslide, another one that missed the top 40 that deserved to be a bigger hit than it was. So I always loved Landslide. But in any case, it was a terrific album. The next thing in my collection was her first album in 4 years, a full album in 4 years, and it marked the downturn of her career as a pop star. Although she did hit the top 40 with the title track, um, it's not one of her better albums, Soul Kiss from 1985. This came out after Two of a Kind, which we'll talk about in a moment. And Toughen Up, Soul Kiss, Queen of the Publication, Emotional Tangle, Culture Shock, Moth to a Flame, Overnight Observation, You Were Great, How Was It, a duet with Carl Wilson, Driving Music in the Right Moment. This, don't get me wrong, this is not a bad album. It's just not as good as the earlier stuff. And some of the material is different. Now, I've actually picked this up in a cutout bin a couple years later. I had the single. It's not my favorite album. You can see she's still going for the kind of physical, kind of crazy looks there. But Soul Kiss is a great song, but it wasn't what had come before. And I think that's why it slipped down a little bit. Now, those are the albums that I have by Olivia. I have tons of her singles. I have an album, Warm and Tender, that's on CD that came out in 1998. And I thought that was a really great return to music. She'd done a few albums in between and since then that I have not picked up, simply because I either didn't know they were out or I hadn't heard them. I've listened to a lot of them on Spotify and I really enjoy them. Olivia is just a magnificent singer. Now, let's talk about the soundtracks. Let me put these aside if I may. Grab a quick drink. Olivia appeared on 4 soundtracks that she also appeared in the film. The first one I haven't listened to yet. I just got it a couple weeks ago in a sale from Rough Trade. But she was not happy with this at all. This is the soundtrack from the 1970 film Tomorrow. She was the lead vocalist for this group. It was Don Kirshner's attempt to rekindle a Monkees-style group. You can see her there in the center picture. She did not like the material. She did not like the music. It was not a big hit. And I have yet to listen to it. As I said, I just picked it up a couple of weeks ago, recently, maybe a month or so ago. It's in my pile of listen to music. And then we're going to Magic Box for the other 3 soundtracks. Let's start with 1978's Grease. Grease was a mega hit at the box office. Olivia starred as Sandy opposite John Travolta's Danny Zuko. She recorded a number of songs for the soundtrack. Only 3 of them were released as singles. You're the One That I Want, number 1 smash with John. The solo hit, I honestly love you, Hopelessly Devoted to You, which hit number 3, and Summer Nights with John and the rest of the cast, which hit number 5. She did a couple of other numbers on the album as well. There is a reason why Grease is one of the biggest selling soundtrack albums of all time. It has some of the greatest music ever recorded. The movie is hella fun. Even now, it holds up. Kids today love it just as much as we did when I was 15 or 16 when it came out. 15. And has some of Olivia's best work. The music was fantastic. That's about all you can say was fantastic about the next soundtrack, Xanadu from 1980. Now, I'm going to be honest. I enjoy Xanadu as a film. It's out there. I would have liked to see the Broadway show. We didn't get a chance to go. It was playing right across the street from where we were in New York for a weekend to see Daniel Radcliffe and Equus. But we didn't get over to it. And I wish we had. Xanadu, the movie is just out there. But the music is awesome. Half the album is Olivia, the other half Electric Light Orchestra, often them singing with other people. And in addition to her then biggest hit of all time, Magic, which spent 4 weeks at #1, she also hit #8 with Electric Light Orchestra with the title track, and #20 with Cliff Richard and their duet Suddenly. There were two other great songs on there, Dancin', which she does with the Tubes featuring Fee Waybill, and Whenever You're Away From Me with Gene Kelly. Terrific, terrific stuff. And of course the ELO stuff is awesome. Electric Light Orchestra, one of my favorite bands of the 1970s, and together on the title track, they just made magic. The fourth and final soundtrack album is Two of a Kind from 1984. Olivia just did a couple of songs on this soundtrack. There were other songs on the album, but Olivia's main contribution was I believe it was the title theme, excuse me. I mean, it wasn't title theme, but it was the theme song, Twist of Fate, which became her last really big hit, hitting #3 on Billboard's Hot 100. The movie was panned by critics. It reunited Olivia and John Travolta. It's not the best movie in the world, what I've seen of it. I've not seen the whole thing. The soundtrack is pretty good, though. Not just Olivia, but there's great stuff on there from Steve Kipner and a number of other bands. And definitely worth checking out. Olivia's single output over the years has included some of my favorite songs. As I said, I have mostly singles by her from the 1970s. That's just what I had the money to buy. But I've always been partial to Have You Never Been Mellow. I Honestly Love You. I like Sam rather well, too. It's one of my favorite songs by her. Let It Shine was another great song that came off, I think that was off Something Better to Do. I might be wrong, though. And then later on, the three singles from Totally Hot, just fantastic. A Little More Love, still one of my favorite songs by her. I used to look forward to hearing that on the car radio when I was tooling around Harrington, when I still had a vehicle at the time. Loved that song, and always will. She made a number of appearances as an actress over the years, but I'll be honest, except for Grease and bits and pieces of Two of a Kind, I've never really seen any of them. Several of them were TV movies, or she even was in a regular, or more or less a regular, on a television show just recently for Logo, where it was attached to another a movie that she had done. The later stuff, I've just not kept up with her because I didn't know she was still recording that much, and it turns out she has been. A lot of it was released through smaller labels or through Hallmark. I did pick up her Christmas album with John Travolta in 2014 or 2015, which the critics hated, but I thought was wonderful. Olivia was an amazing artist, and she's revered for a reason. Not only was she a terrific singer, an amazing vocalist, she was a terrific songwriter. She wrote a lot of the stuff on her later albums. She was a better than competent actress, even though she was, she was, fine as an actress, particularly in Grease, but also in the two or three other things I've seen her in. I've enjoyed watching her concert specials. There's nobody that hasn't seen the physical video with all the videos from the album that hasn't loved it. Of course, it won a Grammy for Best Music Video Long Form that year. I do need to make up and get physical in my collection, and that's obvious because I never bought the album. And I mean, it's her biggest album. I should have the album. Bad TC. I will pick up the new deluxe version, though. I'm already looking into ordering it. Olivia, you have been a light in my life for many, many years. I am sad to see you go, but I am glad you are no longer suffering. I know you have been dealing with cancer for the better part of 25 years off and on, and that could not be easy. Chloe will be a good steward for your legacy, and I think that you will be very much missed by your legions of fans throughout the world, in your native England, your adopted homeland of Australia, and here in the States. We will miss you terribly. If you haven't liked or subscribed to my channel, please do, and I hope you'll leave a comment on this and other things I post. I hope you'll check out my other shows. Rank This, Thursdays at 4, the Kirkham Report, Saturdays at 4, and the Pop Retro Countdown, Sundays at 4, plus Daily Obscuria, Monday through Friday at 11. I'll be back with another Influencers next week. Until then, I'm TC Kirkham, the Kirkham Report. Ciao, baby.